Welcome, everybody. How you doing? Good to see you all. This is Citizen Central, the monthly podcast going over Star Citizen, where we bring in a couple of guests and talk about some Star Citizen stuff. This time I've got a good panel for you all. We've got people that you probably know, maybe a couple of folks you don't. I don't think any of these people are really relevant, but I thought I'd bring them on the camera today and talk a little bit about what we're expecting from CitizenCon coming up in a couple of weeks. So thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, this podcast is every month. We do it live here right on the YouTube and Twitch channel, and the good folks will give us about an hour and a half, 2 hours of their day to hopefully give you a little more entertainment than I can bring you. Let's start out though with our guests. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Let's go from the top hand corner. BoredGamer, if you could introduce yourself, maybe what you do. We'll get right into this after we're done.
Hello, I'm BoredGamer. I produce consistent, constant news content on Star Citizen. I suppose that's probably what I do. And I'm not allowed to swear. They are?
No. If
now here.
But if it's so British that the American people can't understand it, you're good, remember?
I'm pretty sure that they'll understand the feeling.
They're Americans.
It will come across.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Bored. Always an honor to get to speak with you. You are the central news source of Star Citizen, in my opinion. So this should be some good opinions coming from you.
That's not true. It's CIG. I just relay 99% of what they do. They are the central news source.
I was told you work for CIG. Is that?
No, that's not true.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's money that I deserve if I did work for them. That's my money.
They're withholding payment. Well, yeah, I heard you and Mike were working for this. I don't know. We have to figure it out.
I swear to God, if Mike is getting paid any money by CIG, I'm going to be livid.
Don't tell him.
Ollie.
BoredGamer is... sorry.
No. Go ahead. Void.
BoredGamer is the reason why the average Star Citizen cannot read.
Hey, there it is. We depend on videos.
It's a compliment. I guess.
I mean, it is a compliment. It works.
It is a compliment.
Olli43, my man. Welcome in. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
So tell us a little bit, tell the folks a little bit about your content if they don't know who you are, or maybe they do, and your enthusiasm. Honestly, I love your enthusiasm. I'm looking for that in the show today.
Okay, cool.
Pressure's on.
Yeah, pressure's really on. Everybody else has to be negative.
I'm Olli43, the enthusiastic one who can swear but won't.
Can swear.
I make YouTube videos playing Star Citizen, and yeah, we were talking about this before. I don't stream, but maybe I should
give it a shot one of these days. SaltEMike.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody doesn't know you. You've been on here quite a few times, but for those who do, SaltEMike is the most generally white knight person in Star Citizen you can find. Yeah, the Star Citizen cult head.
Yeah. I make the most consistent and constant rain on your parade content. And that's what I'm here for, is to just make you feel bad.
Just ruin your day.
Yes.
Put it on the box.
You are succeeding.
You're welcome.
All right, and VoidDude, my man, let the people know where you're from.
I'm VoidDude. I run a YouTube channel called VoiDude, which is objectively the worst Star Citizen content ever made. And I've recently started streaming on twitch.tv/VoidDude. Yeah, that's me. And you Space Tomorrow, you popped my podcast cherry, so it's good to be back. Thank you for having me.
Always happy to be helping out the community in those ways. Sometimes a podcast cherry needs to be popped. Thanks for joining today, man. Appreciate you coming through. Yeah, VoidDude does good videos. So we've got this is actually a really nice balanced panel. Ollie and Void, you guys both really focus on gameplay videos, and then Salt and Bored, you guys are very much about informing and sort of distributing news and ruining people's day, I guess, as you said. So so I look forward to seeing how your expectations clash. But like you guys have all heard getting in here, we are looking at CitizenCon. It's coming up in a couple weeks. We've gone through the normal information drought leading up to it. As with every year, they have hyped it up. I feel like this year a little bit more even than normal, and it's a 2-day event, and there's a lot of expectations with Squadron and jump points and all this stuff. Let's let's like simmer it all down to the important points and what you guys are realistically thinking might be happening. Before we get into that though, how's the game treating everyone? We just got 320 and then immediately 321 PTU, and like things are kind of all over the place. What's going on with you guys in Star Citizen right now? Anybody feel free to start us off.
I have to jump in.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's really cool, the jump point thing. Like, I know there was a lot of debate whether or not it was deliberate. Did it go in the patch and it wasn't meant to be? But if you don't know, like a week went on, and like one day we had the pyro jump gate, and it was graphical glitches, and it kind of felt like that was an accident. And then the next day we had another jump point, and then they fixed the graphical, and then we had the last one, Magnus, and then you could actually get to them without having to ask friends to get there. And that was really cool. I loved that. As someone who got into Star Citizen properly fairly recently, I think I talked to both podcasters here today about my journey of like enjoying discovering Star Citizen and then getting to the end of that.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to be able to do that again, but also with the community. Like, it was kind of a first experience, and also everyone else is kind of finding these jump points and exploring them. I thought that was cool. So I'm on a high right now.
With those jump points, I think it's almost certain, at least from my point of view, that the initial discovery of them in that first 3.21 patch was an accident, because they were glitchy, they didn't look great, and why would Cloud Imperium give something like that to us without testing it with significant Evocati tests that would have been leaked out just before CitizenCon? Why are they gone? Well, have a little bit of a taste that we... because they've been starving us with CitizenCon stuff, and then to suddenly just go, "Woo, have something!" It doesn't feel legit to me. It feels like it's an accident.
Huh.
Yeah,
that I've heard people debate about that, and I have wondered. I mean, it does seem like they cleaned them up pretty quickly. They were discovered in the code first, right? It's not like somebody just stumbled upon them.
Yeah.
Data mined, I assume.
Yeah, they were data mined, and then the actual locations were data mined, and people found ways to get there. There's debates whether how people got to them as well, which is another argument for like it probably wasn't done on purpose. Like, how do you get to Magnus without cheating?
Yeah, I mean that's
with some people are
that's
argument.
impossible.
Well, apparently it is. You can quantum jump off of each other and it slings you, but there's an argument of how long that could possibly take, and how do you even point in that direction. So
how does the server not 30K before you manage it?
Yeah, so there's like a lot of things that are there. I don't necessarily think it's on purpose, but I do think that it was awesome, and I do think that they knew how awesome it was, so they went and cleaned it up as quickly as possible, because it was helping generate excitement. And why wouldn't you want to do these things, right?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you want to experience this stuff?
Yeah.
Do you think it was meant for a announcement at CitizenCon by,
Yes.
we've added the jump points?
Absolutely.
There's a patch today.
Yeah.
You can
Comes
play
in the
it- you can play
321 live
it
patch.
now.
Absolutely. Yep.
So
Not that we
makes me
would be
sad.
jumping through them, but I think that it was spoiled. Yeah, for sure.
well, with that being said, then, do you think there's anything missing that they could still have as a surprise of introducing them? Because the stations are working, the visuals are there.
The gate, yeah.
Okay.
The gate.
Which will probably be shown at CitizenCon, right? Like, there
Sure.
almost certainly will be a mission where they go and look at these locations where the gate is. You can visit those locations now, just not the gate.
Yeah.
Deliver a box to the gate because an engineer has to go and like fix some stuff.
I think Morphologist hit the nail on the head. He made a video about it and said, this reminds me of the World of Warcraft days, where you would have a portal going to the next expansion for a period of time before that expansion. And that was an exciting moment for all these people and all these things. And I don't know, man, I caught a lot of flack around like making like little jokes about this thing, but I've consistently thought that this was cool. And once Morph said that, I was like, it really hit the nail on the head of why it's so cool. Is it gives that opportunity for when we are able to jump to Pyro, the entire server is going to be sitting there waiting to get through the gate, and it's going to be awesome.
It's exactly like if anybody did play Classic WoW before Burning Crusade came out, that portal had been in the I can't remember the zone's name, but I mean that portal had been there since day naught, and everybody who knew anything about the Warcraft lore knew that was a portal to the Outlands or whatever it was called.
Mhm.
And I get the exact same vibe from this, right? And that is super, super exciting. The thing that I feel about it is that anybody looking from the outside into Star Citizen at the moment could very easily get the misinterpretation that Pyro's here. You know what I mean? And
Well,
I just
Terra's here.
wonder. I wonder how much not damage, but like further upset that could be causing in certain people's like view of the project, right? That's my opinion.
I mean, it's definitely like it gets hype going. I think one of the big questions now would be like, how long is the Magnus and Terra jump points going to be sitting there and not actually used for? Because I mean, it would be. I'm sure in 3 years' time, 4 years' time, if Terra still wasn't there, there would be plenty of posts, pictures, jokes about how like, oh, we're still looking at this jump point this many years later and nothing's there. And I'd be interested in knowing why they added all three instead of just the Pyro one first, if there's any significance to that, or they just threw them in there.
Maybe they just want Stanton to be as complete as possible.
Yeah.
Like, having all those locations that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
I'll
I think
see
we're reading
where's our
like, too
Halo?
much into it.
Where's
'Cause,
our
like,
Aaron Halo belt gates then? Give me them.
Well, yeah, that would be nice. But I think we're reading into it maybe a little too much because once you go to Pyro, then you get additional jump points. And
Yep.
then it's just the choices of which ones they want to connect to next for whatever reasons they decide to connect to them, right?
Mhm.
And then will you complain as much about this Pyro jump point or this Terra or Magnus jump point not working in the Stanton system once you get additional ones? Like, I think the expectation would be Nyx would be next and so on and so forth. But I can't remember from the star map, does Nyx connect to Pyro? Does Nyx connect to... So what you look like you know, Board.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pyro, Nyx, Odin. So
There you
Odin's
go.
on-
Yeah. It's like a little path. Yeah.
So maybe that's the plan, and I don't think anybody would be too freaked out about that, right?
Also,
So,
very Warcraft in the, you mentioned the first area had a portal all that time. So obviously it would be kind of nostalgic to come back to Stanton by that point to
yeah,
actually
it
go
finally
to,
works.
Yeah.
Back in my day. So what about
We only had a hangar and we were happy.
only land at this station and it was called Port Arthur. So do you guys think that there is like this? A lot of people have always called for, oh yeah, you guys should put this in the game and don't tell anybody for exploration purposes and like all this stuff. Now it's actually kind of happened with these jump gates, but people data mined and found them. What's your view on the idea of how they could put things into the game and leave them in organically, but then if data mining finds them, it sort of ruins it? There's a lot of conversation around that. You guys have any point of view from that?
I'm going to jump straight in. That is a symptom of a problem of modern gaming. There are no secrets anymore. There is no such thing as exploration in most games anymore because, if the second you start following a game, you watch a trailer, so much stuff has already been spoiled. And Star Citizen is one of these things now where I don't want to put it negatively, but I can't think of a better word right now. Every like kind of like scrap that gets put into patches these days, there's no magic behind it, right? Because like we're just consuming the stuff like mad people. But I think it's up to individual players themselves to just pull back and like let the game get to a point and then jump in, and then you could seriously experience like a lot of great stuff that Star Citizen has to offer. And I think it just comes down to players, man. But the modern gaming is very harsh in that regard. There are no secrets anymore.
Is it important that there's any secrets at the moment, though? Like at the moment, the game is in development. They need to be testing this stuff, and I want to be wowed by Star Citizen and secrets and explore the universe once it's done. At the moment, I want to help test it.
But is it
but I
ever
think
going
what
to
he's
be like
asking,
an on-off?
is it possible? Yeah.
Is it always going to be like this format of content? Like obviously the game will release at some point, but there'll always be a PTU is my point, I guess, right?
Maybe.
At least during the alpha, yeah.
I don't see a world where we don't ever I don't see a point where the game gets released and then we don't have a PTU anymore.
Yeah,
because that would require them to change the way they develop the game, which I don't think they would do.
Yeah.
They would just continue to have the PTU and have people test it. And obviously there's reasons. If you want to get on the PTU, you have to be a subscriber or spend a certain amount of money, and that obviously is worth something to CIG. So I don't see them removing the PTU. So I think it's sad, the whole data mining thing. I love it. I was checking out the jump points. It was a cool leak or whatever it's called, but it does make it sad that we're never going to be at that point where, unless you, like Void said, ignore it, you're going to be able to explore Star Citizen in a way that is 100% organic, because that information will be out there. It will be on a wiki page or whatever.
And
I don't think Bored or I can do, like, I know Bored is a min-maxer and I like to play that way too. Like, how can you possibly avoid if you know other people are doing things that you can't? Like, that's like one of the things that I
Spoilers
play
aren't a thing
games
to me.
Yeah,
Just don't exist in my head.
I'm complete opposite. I hate spoilers. Please don't spoil anything.
I hate
the
them,
thing is,
but I hate when other people are using like a data mine situation to get ahead of you or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
The thing is, there might be
look at it.
There might be sort of content types, and like, forget what it's called now. Probably it's not Rastar. Like in Skyrim, you've got some kind of, or maybe it's I can't remember what the technical term that they used for the actual mechanism by which they spawn interesting things near you, right? So it's like, you're just busy playing Skyrim, and then there's a certain amount of, and this is very, what's his name? The guy with the board, the guy who disappeared in Star Citizen developer.
Probability volumes and Tony Z.
Yeah. Oh, Tony Z, yes. Yeah. the probability volume type stuff. I mean, that type of gameplay exists in a game like Skyrim, where it's like you've got a random chance for something to occur as you're busy adventuring, right? And they've like fine-tuned this stuff down to a T, where they know like every 40 seconds to a minute or every 3 minutes something has to happen in Skyrim. A dragon must spawn, or this must happen, or whatever. That same concept, that's what I understand from when Tony Z gets going on about the quanta and all that kind of stuff. It's like you'll sit down, you'll play Star Citizen, and then some kind of event, something will trigger as you go and make your way through the universe. This is like the final vision, right? Something will trigger, and that kind of stuff could never truly be spoiled or data mined or ruined for you, because that's your personal own adventure that you're going to have. I'm hoping that that's the primary content of Star Citizen at the end of the day, right? Because like you can only do Siege of Orison so many times before it's like, okay, done enough Siege of Orison kind of a thing.
If those sort of roller coaster missions, those theme park missions, have enough modularity to them and enough dynamic content to them, then it is going to be a lot harder for them to be as spoiled, right?
Well,
it's going to be a description online of how to optimize them, and if you want to participate with that, you can. But I also think there's going to be content which is very, very dynamic that you can't possibly data mine in the right way. People will know, like, there's wormhole spawning that might take you to different locations, but they don't know where and when they're going to spawn and things like that. Exactly.
And that's part of what they've been building. I mean, it feels like they've focused a lot on building that. Even Elliot in chat right now with the missions team, they've been showing us kind of the variability in the missions that they're doing. And I agree with you, VoiDude. I mean, as far as a mission in space goes, if you look at like any sort of space movie, like those quests are always just fetch quests. Like the whole Han Solo movie is literally, hey, grab this thing and fly it back to another place, and like random stuff pops up. You get a pirate here, you get like a weird gas cloud that you can't get in, have to go around here. You do that in Star Citizen, and it's entertainment.
What we're technically talking about here is emergent gameplay, essentially, right? And it's become a bit of a buzzword. People maybe don't like hearing it, I guess. But the reason why I'm so passionate about Star Citizen as a project is I honestly still believe that they are putting enough of the foundational pieces in place so that meaningful emergent gameplay can take place for you during any session, right? Not annoyingly, so I think it's going to be an incredibly fine balance between like making it annoying and making it like functional, interesting, meaningful content, right? Like, I think, Salty, I've seen on your streams many times chatting about the engineering type gameplay. At what point does that get correctly implemented and it is fun and feels good when something goes wrong with your engines, and now you've got to like change your course completely, make a detour, make a stop, fix, get fuel, whatever the mechanism is. I think I personally feel that they're putting enough foundation in place over the long term to make that kind of stuff interesting, right? To hopefully, the balancing act is going to be tremendous, but that's kind of my hope for Star Citizen, and that possibility for emergent gameplay is what's going to make it special.
I have to jump in and say I completely disagree, Void, that like if the system is like, if you're doing X, we're going to throw random stuff at you all the time, then, or if you go to planet Y that no one else has been on, what's the point of me doing anything decisively? Because regardless of where I go and regardless of what I do, I'm going to get thrown the same content. For me, the multiplayer aspect, it works for Starfield because you're on your own. But I think the element of Star Citizen is the people add the randomness, right? And I still have control. If I go to planet X and there's nothing there and there's nothing to do, okay, today I didn't find anything, and it makes the highs even better. But if I went to planet X and it spawns in activities and things all the time, it makes me go, well, I might as well just not think about where I'm going or make a decision, because it's going to do it anyway. It doesn't matter. Like, you can start to see where the cogs are turning. Whereas if everything's placed, then,
Yeah, it becomes very transparent if your pool of emergent gameplay opportunities is very finite, right? So it's like every time you log in, 1 of 5 things is going to happen, and you get bored of that very quickly. That's kind of what I'm hoping it's not going to be like, right? But I do think that that's going to be part of the magic sauce that this game would eventually be. But, who knows if that's even still the vision in the absolute long term. I don't know.
I do like that as a point, though, Ollie. Like, dynamic versus sort of decisive, immersive content.
Intentional.
Yeah,
I think they're. Go ahead, Tomato.
Well, there's definitely got to be a balance. I mean, you can't just you can't be flying, and every time you leave the space station, they're like, a pirate has come across you. Like, there's got to be that's that whole quantum probability volumes. Like, oh, if you go here, this might happen more. And there's going to be this has to be so much fine tuning with this sort of system, because, like you guys are saying, there's 2 different approaches. Both of them feel right, but they have to kind of provide enough content in either direction.
Yeah, I just think that VoiDude started with emergent gameplay, but I think everybody defines it maybe a little bit differently. I think you get what Ollie wants with that's emergent gameplay, but also, I mean, if we look back at like all the Tony Z talks from way back, he was always talking about probability volumes based off of all the little quantum AI flying around and doing their thing, and that there's a chance that you would see those things. And when you did see them, they would be informed by what that little quantum AI might have been doing. So what they would be wearing, what they would be using, and what thing you would experience would be defined there. But I also don't think what Ollie is worried about. Space is huge, so the idea of constantly being barraged with these things in similar ways that we are on Starfield, I don't expect that to be much of an issue. I think you're going to be able to make the decisions that you want to make, but then also have a couple of choices occasionally come across you, so the world doesn't feel as boring as it currently does now at times. To have the choice to go, well, there's a Princess Peaches over here, I'm going to go save her or whatever, or
nice crossover.
Yeah, or something else like that. I think that there'll be an opportunity for both. And if you look again at Jumptown, Security Post Korea, and some of these other situations, you're going to be guaranteed to experience other players, whereas salvage missions maybe not, right? Or mining maybe not, but so there's hopefully again a really good balance. But it's one of the things I'm the least concerned about is.
I suppose what you want with that is you want it to be like the spice and the seasoning added to that direct content. You want to go, there's dynamic content happening, but I don't want it to be the main focus, and I don't want to just go, I can go forward in a straight direction, and the game will just make content for me. I don't need to think.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that at all. And I think that's what Ollie's saying, is that that would be dangerous, right? But if Ollie, let's say, wanted to run some cargo to Brio's Breaker Yard, he should be able to. But the opportunity for maybe a giant, like this would be like the mega rarest opportunity, but a giant Idris to just pop in and start raining down fire on you, and like you and your org fight them off. Like, I think we would all want that opportunity to happen sometimes. Like,
I think it's just
right?
percentages, right? You want it scaled back to like 1 or 2 on the dial.
Exactly. Yeah, but I mean,
if it happens, it's cool, but you don't want it every time you get in your ship. And you don't want it
fully behind what it's like a pacing thing, right? It's like if the pacing is healthy and it doesn't become too transparent, I think that's going to be a winner, right? Completely agree with Ollie on that point, for sure.
It's probabilities, if you will.
Yeah. Probability volumes. That's going to be the whole thing.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to, I think, this is actually a great segue into our main topic for the day. I'm looking forward to seeing some more of Quantum at CitizenCon, but not necessarily as just like a panel that gets talked about, but like something more akin to maybe how we saw like FPS scanning last year, an actual application. I don't know how they would show that, but getting into kind of CitizenCon expectations and stuff, let's start with quantum and the economy and updates like that. Tony Z, however you want to approach it. Do you guys think we're going to see anything on that this year?
It was on Twitter, wasn't it? Who wants to see some more Tony Z?
Did they say that the official account?
No, you got duped a little. You just had a boomer moment. Look at the date.
What?
It was from 2020.
But
It was a
Star
retweet
Citizen,
from a random person. That's
typically Star Citizen is about 3 years behind.
Right on schedule.
Perfect for this year. Oh my God, did I get boomered? Oh,
you got boomered, dude. You had a boomer moment. Yeah, it was a fan that retweeted a 3-year-old tweet.
Gosh, they get you.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So did Tony Z do anything last year? I can't remember.
Nothing. He did nothing for the company.
He got talked about.
So
I had a holiday.
have to blow all your minds and say I don't think I've sat through a Tony Z thing as it happened. I've watched them in the past.
Oh,
so
they're great.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually.
So is it confirmed?
That implies that you think you're going to see him.
No. Okay, part of that was sarcasm because they can get long. I would say the system of thought one was probably the longest, but they're good talks. Like quantum as a system is a beautiful idea. It looks really cool. It seems like it'll be the backbone for an amazing game. But I'm pretty sure you've heard the jokes. Like we've heard a lot about it, and generally it doesn't come in any obvious way. And it not only does it not come in an obvious way, it's like we don't really get that many regular updates about it. It doesn't show up on like sprint reports. It hasn't really gotten talked about on the monthly report until they just started the economic team. So it's like
they've got the economy team now though. So.
Yeah.
What's the development team that's taken over, or like is that's helping with it, or whatever? Remember the name of that team? I can't remember. There's an outside company that was helping along with it or something, and they put it in a monthly report like a year ago.
Collider was there was Moon Collider,
not Moon Collider.
What was the other one?
I can't remember, but there's some team that's helping out with it.
No, not Ilphonic. Ilphonic was
No.
Star Marine.
So when was the last time we heard from Tony?
2 years ago.
And nothing in like reports or monthly reports?
Literally radio silence.
Yeah,
and it's a meme
and it's not
that he's asleep. He's in cryo sleep, and they're waiting for
it's a little nap.
Have they said he's going to be there this year?
No.
Will you guys be surprised if he's not there this year?
Game Horizon. That's the one, guys.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not there. I don't need Tony to be there to hear about the economy. But I think I would be surprised if there wasn't any talk about it. You know, look at like the gameplay that they're bringing in. They're talking about actual cargo hauling with the Hull C. They're bringing in space stations to kind of shore up their trade routes. Like I feel like we can't go another year without the economy making moves.
Can't, dude. There's no way.
We've said that about so many things before.
It's true.
Like,
no, but this
for many
is,
years.
But
What do
like
you mean
last
come
time.
But we're at like we you can only say it so many years. The economy hurts, man. Like cargo hauling is a thing now. The cargo refactor is a thing. Hull C is in the game. They gotta do something.
You gotta recognize that this is the first year that the status of the game has actually affected the funding negatively. So this is the first year like you can actually say something like, guys, we got to do stuff. We got to do something, because it's not just a money printing machine anymore by just drawing pretty pictures. They got to do something now. And I think that's one of the things that they have to do, is that they might be feeling the pressure a little bit and got to do that stuff. And I just want to see, I don't care if I see Tony Z or not. I want to see the Game Horizon devs there sharing their work with us. That's what I want to see. If anything around Quanta, that's what I would like to see. Because whether it's a Tony Z talk running his mouth about all the possibilities, I don't care. I want to see the actual work, and see it functioning, which they did show us the one time, right? They showed
with the pirate dude,
players. Well, no, they showed Quantum with players, like actual players. Like it wasn't fake. Like I knew the player names, some of them, on the original time where we saw the little dots going around. So like it had some functionality, unless they just put random usernames in there, and I just happen to recognize them.
I always
hard
wondered
to
if that
say.
was real or not. Like when they were like, "Oh yeah,
I
these are
believe
real
it
players
was.
playing the game right now." That'd be
I
cool.
believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we can always be like, "Oh yeah, they can only say this so many years," but I do think that over these last couple of years, with the lead up to server meshing, and then specifically with that sort of huge period before PES, I think they've set the expectations now differently. Like they've always done it based on their own messaging, but now it's also kind of like the way the game is actually developing, from 3.21 coming in so quickly with replication layer to PES actually getting in the game and like messing things up. It feels like now they need to meet that calling with their actual development, or else the sentiment's going to be worse than it was this summer, and this summer it was not great.
I think they're still on this year to make a record-breaking amount of money with CitizenCon and the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo.
I think that's
they're
fair.
Like $6.5 million down from what they were previously, year on year.
Money's good.
Oh, for real? That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
it's about $6.5 million.
Yeah,
I'll take everything I just said back. I thought it was much further. I don't follow it as much, but I thought it was much further off than that, because like people were showing large percentages off.
I think
for certain months, yes, but
okay.
The recent 2 or 3 months they've been relatively bad compared to their previous ones, but overall for the year they're only about 6.5 million or 7 million.
I feel like
more
the Star
expensive,
Citizen community are desperate to love Star Citizen when it's not working, or when it's not delivering, is what I mean.
It's true.
100%.
So I feel like as soon as CitizenCon, if they only need like 1 or 2 things to absolutely hit, and I think people will reinvigorate a lot of people instantly, because they want to love this game they've already invested in. So I think to your point that, you know, people are kind of losing, you know, they're kind of tired and waiting and they need the delivery. I feel like they only need a little nudge because they're waiting to be nudged, you know? So I think they'll be fine by the end of the year, personally.
What do you think?
Year on year.
We have like several different kind of like big things that they've been working on, like bounty hunting, engineering, the star map. Like there's some pretty significant stuff. What do you think is going to be that big nudge? Like the actual highlight for most people?
Just a big ship, I think. Because I know.
Oh my god, the
disgust!
Who just made that sound? Was that Tomato?
Yeah.
Somebody just got disgusted.
I feel like that's all they need to do. Just deliver a big ship. I think that's literally all they need to do. I
like actually finish it, Ollie.
Like
deliver it
flyable?
in the game. Yeah.
Okay.
Make it track and flyable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they've got is it Perseus?
I mean,
Polaris.
Okay, yeah.
Polaris.
What if they?
So they're working on that. So all they need to do, I know it's not coming for CitizenCon, I don't think, but if they just said this is coming out in 2 weeks, you can pre-order it for a discount.
How would you feel if they had the Idris and the Javelin flyable by players at that point, or one of them?
I mean, that would
cool.
be big.
Yeah, I mean, that would be even better, but I don't even think they need to deliver that to get the reaction that I'm talking about.
I still think that what they can do, which is relatively low-hanging fruit, is persistent hangers, or not even true persistent hangers, just the instantized hangers that are the steps towards persistent hangers. People going, look, I've got a hanger that I can customize to some degree, and that I can invite my friends to, and that I can use as a base of operation, which has those freight elevators. Cool, we know they're working on it. It's probably almost done.
I think Star Citizen is such a, hey, look at my cool X, right? So big ship or persistent. Like if I had friends that I could bring into Star Citizen, I would say I would say, guys, look at this hangar that is mine. I've got there's my cargo corner. There's some of my flyable little one-seater ships. There's a Connie sat in the corner, whatever it is, I don't know. But like, I think that will bring a lot of people back because they'll be like, oh, cool, I got my own hangar. I think that would be massive, actually.
Yeah.
So, hangars or a big ship that you can go, look, I bought a big ship. I can't fly it on my own, but it's great.
In my opinion, all of the stuff surrounding the persistent hangars, freight elevators, like manual cargo loading seems kind of like a shoo-in at CitizenCon, because that's something that they've been working on all year. Like, we can tell it's kind of like probably the patch after 321. I'm guessing we would see something like freight elevators, because I was hoping 321.
Why do you call it the patch after 321, Tomato? Why do you call it that?
I don't know what the heck's going on, man.
Because we can't call it 4.0.
Yeah, that's. Oh man, it's so funny. You're like, yeah, the 3.22, 4.0, 3.21.3, whatever it's called.
Naming conventions and key bindings. CIG, work on it, please. Like, or don't work on it. Don't work on key bindings. Leave them alone.
Or combine them both. Start changing the names of my keys. Instead of the C key, I want this to be called like the quantum
I'm going to
key.
start picking up keys.
In order to turn on your ship, you have to press 3.21. You have to press the patch number that you're in.
Oh,
That would
Yeah,
actually
type
be
it in.
kind of cool if you could put a password into your
code?
ship. Yeah,
That would actually be sick. I think.
that's actually a
Beep, boop.
feature.
Beep, bop. Yeah. Oh God. All right.
That's
Program it
actually
in.
cool.
Another couple
There
of
you
years.
go.
But yeah, I think the persistent hangars and like freight elevators is something that we're gonna see. You guys, do you think, how far into like cargo style gameplay, because they've been talking about how they're doing it in steps, what do you think is like the furthest out sort of thing they've talked about that we might see going on at CitizenCon?
Well, seeing it CitizenCon and seeing it in our hands are two different things. So you're just
Just at CitizenCon. Yeah.
The furthest out thing that we see, oh geez, I don't think it's cargo, because they didn't show you. You can debate whether or not cargo would be shown at CitizenCon if they didn't show anything. Like, everything pre CitizenCon video wise was all like this super far out stuff. I think engineering is the furthest out thing that we'll see at CitizenCon, because it's actively being worked on, but it's so much work that it's going to take forever.
Didn't they say when they were showing it, they were like, yeah, it's coming probably sooner than you guys think. And I'm like, you guys don't know what I think.
Tomato.
Don't say that. Because I'm sitting here with like, you guys have seen my video right at the beginning of the year.
so
Yeah.
you might get engineering tested on a single ship or two ships earlier
Yeah.
on in
The
experimental
Hammerhead.
phase. Like
Of course.
Hammerhead, but also almost certainly the Gladius, because
Yeah.
the Gladius in engineering, very
First
easy. It's a
part.
fighter.
You know what's interesting is it was a monthly report last year. They mentioned 3 of the ships they were kind of doing their first pass of engineering on, and one of them was the
Hull
Ares.
A.
Yeah, and the
Hull
Hull
A2
A.
was in there, right?
Yeah. And I was thinking the Hull A maybe because it was a small ship with an interior they were working on. But the Ares was an interesting choice, as like, I'm guessing they're sort of, this is what engineering looks like on a just cockpit ship. And I wondered why that wasn't the Gladius instead.
Because they wanted to make
It's-
everyone angry after nerfing it. I don't know. It's good
It's a
now,
nice
though.
ship that people
Yeah.
they probably have high sales of that ship. And
It's
Fed-
Any
appropriate.
publicity is good publicity.
No.
I wouldn't say
It
it's
looks
good
good
now.
on
It's
the screenshot.
appropriate now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's better.
There- Oh, that's good. That was a thorn in a lot of people's side.
Yeah.
So engineering is a good one, I think. If I had to say what should they focus their whole keynote around, if they wanted to do like a multiplayer sort of demo, I would say just put people on a big ship and send them on a trade route from Stanton to Pyro and do engineering stuff. I'd focus mainly on the engineering.
And get attacked or something.
Yeah.
I would love to see somebody rock up at Pyro, do some stealth mission gameplay type thing. Then maybe a sandworm comes out of nowhere. That would
Oh
be
man,
insane.
sneaking through
he's
events,
hitting all the classics. all
sneaking
the
through
classics
event,
in one.
cutting the thing. Yeah.
And then there were people in my Discord talking about how they should totally like do the sandworm like part 2 and do like a Kraken underwater and like have all these underwater and just go like absolutely balls to the wall with it.
that would be cool.
You know what? You know what
I
would be
want to see
great?
the
It would be cool, but it would be
Classic
so
VoiDude
off-base.
fans.
What if they started out their like
Mike's face.
their keynote video with like a little bit of a cinematic intro, and you have like the sandworm bursting out of the sand and doing all this stuff and acting crazy, and then the camera, instead of doing anything nuts, just kind of
They
zooms
won't
out,
ever
and you see
do
that the
the sandworm.
sandworm is like just like this 3-inch long little boy that they created and it's sitting on Daymar, and it's not actually a
I mean,
sandworm.
one day they might say we bought the Unknown World studio who made Subnautica, and go, now we've got loads of underwater gameplay as well.
Oh my god.
That's the
Yo.
sort. You never know what they're going to do.
The one
the biggest
thing,
news at CitizenCon, we bought another studio.
Yeah,
I guess that would be.
It works for Microsoft, so
I'd be like,
true.
hey, things seem to be. Everybody else is doing layoffs, and you guys are buying studios. I guess things are going well.
Yeah.
Though the one thing on the roadmap that always makes me laugh is boat parameters, which is like something for Squadron, but just the fact that boat parameters is on the roadmap for a space sim always makes me laugh.
You're probably going to see civilian boats at some of the outposts and things like that in the future, right?
Yeah.
Even if they're little tugboats or whatever.
Like
And
that.
they do want some ships to be able to, float. They want water physics to be part of that.
890
the
cruise.
890 jump doesn't sit in a lake. It
Yeah.
looks like a
True.
boat.
Yeah.
Unplayable.
Or make a boat version of it or whatever. I think what this game has succeeded with incredibly well so far is there may not be any sand in the sandbox, but the sandbox tools that they've created to allow players to try to have some fun are pretty wild, right? Like tractor beaming, physicalized cargo, a lot of the things that we've been seeing lately. There's a lot of cool tools to play with. And I can't imagine, floating ships or boats or anything like that wouldn't go along those lines of those tools.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have some more sand, though, wouldn't it, in that sandbox, rather than just the sandcastle-like mold.
Yeah, exactly. We have all the molds. We just need either the sand or the water to make it molding, to do the molding easier or whatever, whatever thing you want to say. There's something missing right now, but it's just a matter of focusing on those things. And I just don't think we focus on it until after meshing or whatever, but that's
the big old meshing.
That's why people want it so bad. You
Yep.
know, that's why we want meshing is for the focus to change.
Yeah.
Chris did
Or at
say
least
we were
me.
at an
Shouldn't say we.
inflection point. So what do people think Chris's inflection point with Squadron 42 is?
I don't know what inflection point is.
Yeah,
I'm American.
Like,
what does
more
inflection point
resources
mean?
are going to.
It just,
That's a
T-junction.
curse actually in Britain. So.
Oh shit!
What did you call me?
So, an inflection point, basically, how you have curves that go up and down, yeah? So, so the inflection point is where it starts to go up. So the inflection point for Squadron 42 stuff coming to Star Citizen, which Chris said.
To the PU.
Yeah.
You mean?
He said there was an inflection point. Where now
so as in resources coming from Squadron 42's development back to the PU. Because the way I perceive this project sometimes is that there's like this graveyard shift of people working on the PU, right? And which these guys are just desperately trying to get stuff pushed and like features come through, patch by patch every 4 months or whatever. And that, as you said, the inflection point, or like for me, this mainstream influx of like development that can then actually be worthwhile and like every patch PU wise becomes insanely exciting because there's actual resources now dedicated to the PU that is like magnitudes more than what is currently there.
That's my hope as well.
Sorry, carry on.
No, carry on. Sorry.
I was going to say I took it as like we're just at a major turning point. Or like we've hit it comes across like we've hit the final chapter, or we've hit a chapter which is towards the end of Squadron 42, or like we've hit a point where now we've got the last leg. It's kind of how I interpreted it. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but
I thought that since 2016, though, Ollie.
Yeah, I know, but I knew.
You haven't thought it. They've literally said it before. So that's the hard part about this.
Yeah.
Is like they have, and I'm just at a point where I don't believe anything they say until what they say actually starts to come true often. So they have a chance to do that this year, right? Is in the next year or so. Like they have until the end of the year to deliver the new star map, the new EVA mechanics and things that they showed at CitizenCon last year that they said would be in by the end of the year this year, right?
Yep.
So, when can I start believing you on what you say?
That's the biggest thing. And those are the features that I really do expect to see at CitizenCon, because we could go back to the letter from the chairman in December. We can go back to CitizenCon from last year. We could go back even further to the talk with Richard Tyrer about 2 years ago now. They've been communicating regularly. Hey, we're working on this stuff for Squadron. It's going to be better. It's going to get into the PU. And the only thing I think we've seen so far is the mantling we just got in 320. There might be something else, but like it's been super minimal.
It's hopes, intentions, and targets at the moment until it's in your hands, like Mike was saying.
That mantling saved me in prison the other day.
Yeah, I mean,
Made it so much better.
There you go.
That's really great. That's
Yeah.
really great that that was the first piece that came in, and it's like the simplest one or whatever. However, you can take a negative point of view on that if you want, but it's not. It's a good thing, and it just comes down to them doing that. But like Tomato, you said you wanted to see it at CitizenCon. Like, what do you mean? Like, you want to see the same demo of it again?
No,
like,
so
I want them to say it's in 321. You guys are all at CitizenCon. I'm sitting here at home, and they go, all these new things are here in the patch. You guys can maybe play it on a computer there or whatever, but that's what I'm hoping for.
So what I would hope to see, I'd bring it back to CitizenCon 21, I think 2021. And before I get super deep into this, I do want to say again, for anybody who is listening to this live, YouTube, Twitch, a link has been dropped in the chat, folks. Supporters during these podcasts get to join us afterward for a private Q&A with all these guests, hear what they have to say about certain things. So if you guys who are watching live want to put in questions, please hit that link and put them in. I'll be posting that as well as this podcast on YouTube. So I'm just putting that out there because I see it in chat, people asking questions. But what I would want to see at CitizenCon regarding those features is they showed us FPS scanning, interaction mode, engineering gameplay. What else did they show us? Yeah, EVA stuff, the platforming, all of those things, those little features. I want to see them in a gameplay scenario like in 21 when they were going and doing that mission, and then they would like grab stuff and put it in their backpack, or they would kill someone and loot their body, and we could tell that's the game, because we got those additions like 2 weeks after that demo. I want to see it in a gameplay environment where we know these are the features that you showed us in a closed environment last year. Now you've worked on them to the point where they're ready to go into an actual like server. And I don't know how they show us that with the confidence that we know we would get it, but there's a lot of features that fall into that category now because we didn't get a lot of that stuff over this last year.
The only way to do that is to regain that confidence by getting it done, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
So looking back at those features, there are a few. I actually have a list here. I could probably post these to you guys. Just a bunch of features really that were kind of maybes or yeses. I'm going to go through a few of those features that we had seen last year, and I want you guys to tell me which one you would be most interested in seeing shown in depth at CitizenCon. So there's FPS radar and scanning. There's the EVA T2 stuff. There are AI combat improvements. They didn't show this, but I do think this would be the year to show it, the star map, which I will kind of group in with like the interior maps and stuff. And just as a little extra, control surfaces and like the aerodynamics of those features. What do you guys think is going to be a focus for them?
Well, I want to see maps, right? Does anyone not want to see maps out of that list?
I would, yeah, that's pretty high on my list.
They will do the community. They will get a lot of excitement if they show the new star map, because I think that's a pain point for a lot of people that play regularly.
Unless it's terrible. What if their star map is worse?
Can it be worse?
After all this time.
Can it be worse?
What timeline
Play
are we in?
321 and double click and just auto crash this week, on the star map. That was fun.
Really?
So yeah, if you double clicked a party member, you instantly.
You know what
crashed.
the worst part about that is? I was heading to Magnus. I was about 1 million kilometers away, and then I double clicked the star map to get zoomed in, and I prayers.
Dude, that is such a crazy.
It's fixed. It's fixed, by the way.
Never happened to me, so
Was that in live or was that just the PTU?
You need friends.
PTU.
Okay.
PTU.
Yeah, you need friends to click on.
I personally want to see the FPS radar and scanning stuff, because I think that
100%.
was the most Star Citizen thing that they could show, right? What does Star Citizen do well? Tactile immersion stuff. And the current hold F and all this, really, really kind of tier 0, bad, not fun interactions that we currently have now. That was a really polished, a better version of what I have been playing for many years, right? So I'm hyper excited to be able to kind of pinpoint, grab a pen or grab little things, right?
Yes.
Everybody that's played Starfield here, I think one of the more fun things was taking things from one location, putting it on your ship, and being able to place it down and stuff like that. And I think it makes whatever, boards bringing up persistent hangers and like, little things like that, making the game more our own would be really great.
The little thing they showed on Inside Star Citizen this week with the whole place a box or like hover a box and it will like try to put it in the easiest spot for you. Huge kind of like quality of life fix. I'd love to see something like that for interaction, like you're talking about. Like make that interaction.
That's in now, by the way.
Yeah.
Lag aside,
I think it's in the PTU.
I'm blown away by how well tractoring boxes just works in the game. Like considering what Star Citizen is and how it is and how it behaves and how server stuff works. The way that you interact and track the stuff and the physics, it still blows my mind every time we're tractoring lots of boxes around that
I'm
just
not
kind of
scared.
operates the way it does.
I'm not scared that I'm going to explode anymore when I'm moving boxes. That is a big thing. That is genuinely a big thing. You're totally right.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, it does work. It's a system that works now.
Whoever made the tractor beam at CIG should be promoted to Chris Roberts. Because it's basically perfect since it's been made.
Yeah. Best feature I think they've brought into the game, like consistently performs. It changed the game. It changed Xenothreat when it came in. Like I do like the tractor beam in this game. Yeah. If there's one beam, it's the tractor beam.
I just wish you could place the grid anywhere.
What do you mean?
Isn't that the plan?
So say if I was on Daymar and I had a C2 and I wanted to rearrange a load of boxes for whatever reason, I wish I could just, I don't know, place a box and then I wish the game would then allow me to stack the boxes.
I see.
Even outside of the grid.
Like build a custom grid anywhere you want.
Yeah.
That would actually be cool if you placed a box and it kind of lined it up based on that box. Yeah, it's solid quality of life. Ollie, you should go work at CIG. I like that one.
Maybe if you put that quality of life thing, if you post that online, Chris Roberts will respond to you.
Oh,
you have to be Toronto though.
Your little
your
streamer entitlement.
I've only covering the game for like 10 years. It's fine. If Chris doesn't respond to me, it's absolutely fine. I don't even mind. I don't even care.
Just respond. Oh, this is cool. That's cool, Chris. Thanks for answering all my questions. Great. Actually, that's something a little break from the CitizenCon discussion, because I do want to get your guys' thoughts on his messaging there, specifically with kind of what has been revealed as now the problem that has plagued PES since it came in, and apparently what's caused issues with 318 and now 320 launching has been their sort of database. And it is an enterprise third-party solution that he says in his response you're talking about is giving them some trouble and possibly making it difficult for PES to work. What do you guys take away from that? Is that worrying to you, or do you think that they've got it under control? Why do you think it took so long to be mentioned?
They could fix it quickly, and they couldn't.
It's just one of the reasons that there are so many bugs, right? And they've gone, well, if we just solve the database stuff of the bugs, then the database stuff will work. So it didn't really mean anything. That's what I'm trying to say with it. It was it's yes, if they solve it, great, and stuff will work better. We're working to make stuff work better, is what Chris said. And I went, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I agree that it maybe didn't ultimately mean anything, but I actually really did appreciate hearing that this particular thing was an issue, right? It felt like I got a bunch of clarity. It was like, we've gone for this enterprise level solution. Theoretically, we all looked at this thing and we thought it was going to work. In reality, however, after all this implementation and literally doing something that nobody else has done with this enterprise type solution where theoretically it should work, there's problems. There is no other, you can't Google this and be like, hey, this doesn't work, right? Because nobody else is doing this on Earth. So I appreciated that level of clarity and be like, oh, okay, well, that, if you're going to give me a reason, that sounded like a pretty good reason, right?
I don't share this point of view. I just see it, and it kind of would make sense to me. I think it was, first off, my point of view is I think it's nice to hear from him and hear what's going on. Okay, that's always good. Terada needs to post on Spectrum more, because it's been a year and a half since the last time we heard from the guy.
Yeah,
exactly. He's our connection between. But the one thing that I see a lot of people saying, and it's kind of like, okay, it's really easy to just pass the buck then, right? Because now instead of going, it's our fault, we screwed up. No, it's their fault. And a lot of what people are saying is how you Yeah, of course. How you use like if this is a billion-dollar, million-dollar company, you know, a database company that doesn't have these kind of issues with other people, it's really what VoidDude's saying and going, we're doing things that we're using the database in a way no one's ever used it before, and that's why we're dealing with these issues. And he didn't really say that. He just said these are really good, strong enterprise things, and we shouldn't have these issues, but we did. And it's like, well, whose fault is it really? You know? And it's
do
like,
you think in a way he responded to Torado to put like a threat out there? Like nobody will let him say anything publicly at CIG, but he was actually trying to threaten the enterprise people by saying that's not fucking working, you know?
No, I think he's just trying to be like, I think Chris is a human being. Everybody who works there is a human being. And when you hear everybody talking shit, we're not allowed to curse. And when you hear everybody saying bad things about your employees and the implementation of the really hard work that they put in, and and because this is why I don't feel that way, because I actually believe Chris, because I think Chris is standing in front of all the bullets and taking them for the people who worked really hard. And the fact that everyone's saying bad things about these people that worked really hard when it's not their fault necessarily, it's kind of tough to stand there and not say anything. I don't think it has anything to do with threatening the company, because to be honest, there's legal contracts and all these, like, there's no way, like he could maybe even be sued for what he said.
Threaten's the wrong word, but it's kind of like, you know, somebody going onto Yelp and complaining about it, but like in a completely back alley way kind of.
I believe he's defending his employees there.
I don't think it was that much of a complaint either, really. I mean, he was just saying, look, we know what the sort of problem is, and we need a different database solution because that's the weak link here at the moment, and we've tried to make it work. Like, and
that's not the case, man.
But that's what it sounds like it is, right? That's from what he said. I do believe that's what is the problem. But what I'm saying is that it doesn't really mean anything beyond we're just trying to make something work for this, and they'll come up with a solution. They don't 100% know what that's going to be yet. Maybe they'll just get this enterprise software working a lot better, because they will eventually, even if they don't change it to another product, they'll iterate on it enough that it will work the way they want it to. Well, how much time is that going to take?
I think that might be the only path forward, man. But what do we know?
I think Chris just got caught into a situation where criticism was given to him by someone fairly high profile, and I feel like Chris is like, if it was me, if I was Chris, I was sat there and all I wanted to say essentially was like, look, we know we're working on that stuff, it's all very good what you're saying, we're not ignoring you. I think that's probably what came across in that post from my perspective. Chris wanted to put across that we know, we agree with you, and we are working on that, and also it's really annoying, we're spending a lot of time and effort on this database thing, and at the moment we haven't cracked it, but we are trying to fix it, and that is the problem. I think it probably came as like a bit of a Valve moment, in terms of like, I just need to let people know I am listening and I am reading and I am interacting internally. I think it must be really hard. I don't want to come across as a Chris sympathizer or anything like that, but it must be really hard being Chris when, as Mike said, he is the one taking the bullets when stuff doesn't work, right? He is the face of the company, so it must be tricky to sit back and not say anything on this stuff. I think.
Do you guys think that it could delay their work with the replication layer server meshing or anything like that, or are you not really considering that?
How can you delay what yet is to be released?
Yeah.
Well, never have it. Yeah, I mean, delay it past. So they seem to want to get 3.21.x with replication layer this year, right, by the end of the year in some way.
I mean, I don't think it will delay it. I mean, they'll just release it trying to optimize their current solution, right? Like, they're not at the end of the tether with it. They're just saying there's a potential that they could change it.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to see. Okay. Delays aren't really a thing from CIG anymore, because they don't talk about when stuff's going to be released properly anymore. They obscure all the dates and everything and do some voodoo magic. And it's really hard to tell when it's coming out. And that sort of annoys me, because I wish they were more open to failure and expressing actually what's happening and what their targets are. I don't know. What is your plan for the end of the year? Why aren't you telling me? Well, that's because I don't want to disappoint you. You're disappointing me by not telling me. Okay?
Yeah.
It's a weird one to start some days.
Yeah, that is strange. All right, let's go back to CitizenCon expectations. I want to hear about ships. They've kind of been talking about a lot of ships. I did a count yesterday on my other podcast about I think 15 or so different things that they're working on. You guys think there's going to be any surprises in terms of ships or vehicles at CitizenCon this year?
There's a lot of unnamed and unnamed variant, unnamed ship. I mean, you want the Polaris in. Would you be happy if it was like a big concept ship?
I
don't know about happy, but it could be a surprise.
I don't really. I mean, concepts are fun, right? But at some point, it's like we've got a lot of concepts that we haven't got yet. So I think would be more exciting for me personally is actually seeing stuff like a tour of the Polaris. Maybe it's looking really unfinished inside, but I mean, just walking around like a white box or something, or a grey box. I think that'd be cool. I think that would get me excited. It would probably go up and sell again. Like, you know, that would be interesting. But I think that's all they need to do. I think they only need to do something like that for a ship, even if they faked it inside somehow. You know.
Yeah,
I just don't think the concept sale Like, I don't like the Galaxy. I think they probably expected more.
Better.
Yeah, I don't know if that did as well as they were expecting. And I think it's kind of like the Google problem, right? Of like, it comes to a point where you keep announcing services and products like Stadia or Google Plus, and then they kill it. And then at a certain point, you're like, you know what? I'm not going to get myself invested in these concept sales anymore because you are bringing out the concepts, but it's taking a lot longer than I'd like. So I'm going to not let myself get too excited about concept sales.
Yeah, I feel like the majority of people involving themselves in concept sales now are resellers and things like that know that the concept will be cheaper when the thing goes live. It's going to be a lot better. Like, I mean, God, I've abandoned my instrument I paid $250 for. If I actually wanted to make money, I could, many of the ships that I have, I could sell for a profit at this point.
Mine and
Well, what do you do after you mine? You got to sell this stuff, brother. Very important. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I don't even remember what the original question was. Like, what would excite us at CitizenCon?
Yeah, what do you expect to see from ships? Usually they show a ship they're in progress on, and they show like a new concept and maybe a ship that's coming soon. I was wondering if you guys thought there was anything specific that they might bring out that we haven't seen.
This year's been kind of like really subpar excitement-wise from previous years on ships and vehicles, right? It's been like the Fury is cool, but is it like, has anything really hit like every year there's been like this big heavy hitter? But this year was like the first year ever I feel like we didn't have that. So maybe there's something.
You haven't had the IAE yet, though.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I think we could see. I think there's a few big old amazing ships at the IAE and CitizenCon, and I think you could have they're probably not going to release any capital ships, but they might release a couple of concept capital ships because they are unable to build capital ships. I've decided, but they are able to think about them. Because I'm damn good thoughts about capital.
I tell you what, I would be excited. This kind of loops back to what we were talking about before. I would be excited if at CitizenCon they told me that I could select a small ship like the Fury to go into my Carrack when I go out. That'd be a massive thing.
Yes, it would be.
Well, are you talking about being able to spawn, like say, loadouts inside your ship before you load your ship?
So when you go to a loadout of a ship, you select your components. It will have size 1 ship, and if you could select, if the Fury's at Orison, and you could select the Fury, and every time you spawn it, Fury's in there like a component. That would be that would be something I would.
That would be such a quality of life thing.
They've been massively talking about that for the last 4 years, though.
Well, CitizenCon's where it's going to arrive.
3 years ago.
They
said, yes, okay. They said they could do it. They just needed to do the UI for it. That was 3 years ago.
They have the UI. It's like the shields. They have the. Just
no. Why bother doing that UI in Flash, which is deprecated and no longer used when the building blocks have to come in? I think that's literally dependencies within dependencies within dependencies when it comes to UI stuff.
It is quite possible this is all planned with the cargo refactor stuff that they are clearly pushing up forward, and it's really close. But I think Pyro is really close, and I think a Squadron 42 release date's really close. But
I actually think we'll see a lot of. Remember last year we saw environmental UI. I think that'll be quite big this year. I think they teased us, didn't they, with a few shots or like. We saw that with racing, actually, the gates and stuff. Like, that worked really well. So I'd like to see more of that environment UI.
I mean, they're designing the game for VR without telling us that they're designing the game for VR.
I have limited interest in VR.
Same, I have no desire to slap
It will make me ill, so I
think, so VR-wise, I do think we might see VR for Squadron.
I think it'd be cool.
I just think the way you interface with all menus and stuff, the stuff that they've been showing off, those like menus that come up and sprawl out like that, I just think that that's something that will translate very easily to VR one day.
Or did you move your mic? I can't hear you as well anymore.
Hello.
There you go.
All right, guys, just want to say for anybody who was watching us live, you might be watching this after the fact now. Very sorry. I had to end the stream. We had some weird technical difficulties going on with streaming, and all of the comments were stressing me out. So I just ended it all, and folks can watch and listen afterward. But let's get back onto the topic of CitizenCon real quick, because I do want to kind of get through more of the possible features we might see, and then close everything out since I've taken plenty of your guys' time. So instead of going through this whole list of stuff that I have, I'm going to pick out some of the bigger, I think more important things that show up, and you guys give some thoughts on them. So first up, I want to talk about reputation. The reputation system is pretty big, and like the mission team picked it up earlier this year, so they're working on it again. You think we'll see anything big there besides the trespassing stuff they've been talking about?
I mean,
at CitizenCon?
Hostility.
Yeah, at Citizen. This is all CitizenCon. Yeah.
No, I can already. That's the only thing I can confirm that I know will not be at anything from the mission team will not be at CitizenCon. None of them are going.
Right. And you don't think they'll show any of the updates, even if the team isn't there?
Potentially, but I mean, that's not very CIG of them to do. So
I feel like the fact we saw it in the sprint report last week, that trespass.
The trespass,
thing,
yeah.
I feel like that's
it.
It's because we saw it because it's not going to be at CitizenCon.
Yeah,
so
I presume.
I feel that they're going to show. I was expecting to see factional hostility. So
I don't think we're going to.
Okay, well, as you said, if the mission team aren't going, it's less likely. They might still talk about it in a very minor way. But if
maybe with UI of some kind. Yeah. But I don't. But that blew my mind when they said none of us are going. I was like, what? That when I saw that, I got very nervous for CitizenCon and the cool things that could be shown, because the mission stuff is very paramount to the experience of what you do and when you do it.
Realistically, that only means there's probably not going to be a mission-based presentation. So,
well,
specifically
the mission team helped with the presentation, but yeah, they're not with the keynote, but not not an actual talk. It sounds
as
like
long as they're involved in the keynote and any gameplay demo, great.
Yeah.
But does that mean that
the reputation's there?
Right.
But I mean, does this not just lead credence to the fact that it could be even more Squadron 42 focused than we might even imagine?
Could be.
And like far less PU focused.
I think it's less. I think if they do have much of a Squadron 42 presence, it won't be a huge amount. Like it's not a Squadron 42 fan fest. It's a Star Citizen fan fest.
Do you think it will go back on sale? Because it's not on sale.
Yeah,
still
gotta.
Is Squadron 42 still not on sale?
It's as if they're waiting to CitizenCon.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I didn't even know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So reputation is off the deck. We have
kind of no dedicated presentation for it, but it could be the focus of the keynote, right?
I'll give you a little leak, a little tiny leak from CitizenCon. 3 different CIG members of staff I've talked to have all said exactly the same thing. I know there'll be at least one announcement for Squadron 42 at CitizenCon. And that's what they've said. So, in exactly the same way.
All right. So, if you want to expect something, Squadron 42, which I think everybody has been kind of saying
I think that's fairly expected.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're just going to say what year it's going to come out in. That's it.
You're going to spend the whole second day just saying that.
2016.
Yeah. Oh, wait. They already did that.
I meant 2026, man.
Yeah.
Man.
That seems reasonable. At the moment, that seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I think it's 2024.
I hope so.
I really hope so.
Think that's what they think we'll get an announcement at CitizenCon for 2024?
Yeah.
It would make sense for them to do it like that. It's been off sale, and then we're going to have a cool trailer, big old cinematic.
$70.
And at the end of it, bam, date.
You think they're going to try and bring out one of the actors, do a little Keanu move?
That would be cool.
I'm such a fan of the cast, man. That'd be excellent, dude.
Which actor?
Dude, any one of them. Mark Hamill.
Mark, Sandy Gardner.
The chick from X-Files. What was her name?
Gillian Anderson.
Gillian Anderson, yes.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill? He's even
bring out Henry.
42, man.
Yeah, I feel like he's probably the most relevant.
He's not working right now, right? So yeah, why not? He's not the
Henry
Witcher
Cavill's
anymore.
doing Warhammer things. He's got Warhammer 40k to make. Leave him alone.
Right.
That's right. Never mind. That's right.
I wonder how the audience would have reacted at CitizenCon 2015 if it said "Answer the call 2024."
In the future. Okay.
Weird.
They would have been like, "Wait, is that the year the game is happening?"
Wait, and wait. Squadron 42 has to come out before Star Citizen? Ah, shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one that I'm actually interested in because they've kind of talked about this, and I think it's a really important thing that should be coming soon. But refining gameplay, they've been surprisingly quiet about, besides just like a single monthly report this year and like the ships they talked about working on. Do you guys think they might show something?
I want to see that. I don't know. This is the most. I have no clue. Other than we're gonna jump through a pyro jump gate for the 500th time, and Squadron 42. I really would. I would love to see that personally. I think everybody knows my passion for that kind of gameplay in the game, and that's like one of the puzzle pieces that are missing from like mining's cool if you look at it in a vacuum, but it's kind of shit if you don't do anything with the stuff you mine. So
yeah,
that's one of those steps that get to the place of
We
doing
need
stuff
we
with it.
need the economy team. We need Tony Z, and we need the next stage after refining to make mining, refining, and that whole gameplay loop fun. Right?
Salvaging refueling it all. You need the glue to put everything together, and crafting is the glue tied with economy, right? Together.
Pioneer gets launched.
It all
So
feeds
it's
into
really-
piracy
That'd be
somehow.
wild.
It's really crafting that is the key that's missing after refining comes in.
Yeah, and they've implied crafting so much. So maybe instead of refining, I would love to hear more about crafting plans. Right?
The
That'd
crafting
be cool
for
to hear.
me was a really nice
Yeah.
surprise on the Vulture when they added the ability to make your own
Yeah,
multi-tool. Such
was
a
genuinely
nice
awesome.
quality of life thing to be able to
Yep.
do that.
Imagine crafting your own
more.
ammo.
Yeah.
Right? Just something as simple as that.
Crafting would be
They've
an
even
interesting
showed
one.
like a C2 as a shop. Imagine if you could craft weapons and you could
Yeah.
load them
Yep.
up on your ship.
All right. How
And so
about
instead of finding weapons, you find blueprints or what? I mean, it can go. Many games have done this, so our minds can go wild.
Yeah.
About
yeah, really?
you pulling from games that we like.
It's not an MMO though until I can fish.
You need fishing.
We have
gameplay.
rivers, board. We
Space
have
fishing.
rivers.
We do.
All right. How about building interiors? I feel like that's easy hype. You think they've done enough work on that to show it again?
I mean, my frame rate at Loreville is so bad. I don't know.
From a technological standpoint, that is incredibly interesting to me. From an actual gameplay standpoint, unless they're doing some pretty interesting stuff, it'll be nice to check out every now and then. Would it be a driving factor? Unless it's integrated like really nicely throughout many gameplay loops, which I don't think it's possible right now. It'll be cool to see, technologically speaking, right? Like as a nice thing.
You're not the design your house kind of gamer, Void.
Not a
I
Sims
mean,
player.
I have my dude, like with all the maze that my avatar huffs, it's like it's just give me an alleyway and a like a
True.
box. It's fine.
Yeah, I think building interiors. I don't know. They come off to me kind of like UGFs. Like they're an exciting location,
Yeah.
but they're also sort of like the dungeons. And I would like to see more of what will fill those dungeons than the dungeons themselves. It seems like another thing that would be a really good choice for like a keynote demo, though.
It's interesting
Yeah.
because the way they showed it on the ISC, I took more of an approach of like player housing, player manufacturing, like more player owned elements or
I see
things
some
that
of
players
that.
can use rather than
Reckon
another
they'll
place to go.
Location like hubs
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, I think so.
So are we talking about like Lorville interiors, right?
Yeah.
Actually having like the interiors enterable,
Yeah.
right? I mean, again, that's such a huge, cool technological thing to see, right? Because I think of a game that allows you to open every door and wander inside places. But this will probably be like very fancily instanced and stuff like that, I guess. But,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it'll be limited to certain buildings for sure.
And
but
CIG
it will
is so
make the
weird.
space feel less. It'll make the space feel less like, because like at the end of the day, Lorville's like a set piece, right? The minute you can now go in and like access some random building, because didn't there's even stuff about like assassination missions and stuff inside these locations, right? So landing on the roofs and going down into these places. That really does make the place feel more real, and I think that's
The
a big
awesome
deal.
platforms, right? You've got the awesome platforms again at the moment. If you just open up ArcCorp to do something very similar, but their buildings aren't floating, they're just part of the ground, like
Exactly.
a normal human building. That and underground facilities, I do think that's something they will show. The new ones will show at CitizenCon almost certainly, because they haven't been talking about it recently.
Yeah, they haven't talked about it
That's
at
what I was
all.
going to say. CIG is so weird. If they don't talk about it, it can mean one or two things: that they're saving it for CitizenCon, or they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And both are both are the same, and it's
It's like-
you never actually know.
They either want us to be excited about it or forget about it. And like,
Exactly.
we can't have those be the two opposing things, CIG. All right?
No.
We're always going to want to be excited.
Yeah. So it's tough. Like that's mine with that is like, did they run into a snag and aren't doing it, or are they going to show it at CitizenCon? But I
Right.
think that's a good one to call out. That it's a likely one that maybe we could see.
I think so. I think in the same way they kind of wanted to highlight those outposts at the last CitizenCon where they did a keynote. Like they love new locations, and their locations teams are so good. It just makes sense to take advantage of those. Speaking of locations, a lot of people are like thinking, hey, we're seeing these jump points. Maybe they'll leak Terra to us. Maybe we'll see some Magnus. I don't think we're going to go that far, but I'd love to hear what you guys think in terms of additional systems, which feels funny to say when we haven't gotten Pyro, but Nyx is always kind of a possibility. What do you think they'll show any other star systems at CitizenCon?
We've already got that green.
No, carry on.
Oh, from Ellis.
Yeah. So like, I don't think it's unreasonable to think we might get concept art, but I don't know if it would go into
concept art.
That. Yeah,
love some good concept art.
They could show new biomes. They could show some planned grey box structures from Terra and stuff like that. I mean, they've probably built some important scenes from Squadron 42 as well that have got a surprising amount of systems in rather than just the Odin system, right? So
yeah, historically, CitizenCons for me, the gameplay presentations that I've enjoyed the most are when they have like somebody start off in a hab somewhere. So maybe this time it'll be like in one of these like actual physicalized habs on a city somewhere. The journey of going up, meeting with somebody's, getting into some kind of cool new ship. Maybe not necessarily a new ship, but some kind of multi-crew ship. Maybe it's a hammerhead this time around, shows off a little bit of the engineering gameplay en route, and then they go and they do some objective in Pyro or something like that. But then, as you say, a different system like Nyx or something like that could be, the way that they've treated Pyro in the past, and just demonstrate that, go through planet by planet, show off the biomes, the atmosphere, the way that the vibe of these places, right? Like I could see that kind of taking place, but again, I could be completely off base because I don't really keep.
Maybe their strategy is to make us sick of every system before they actually introduce it. They just preview it for 4 years.
Yeah, and I mean, is the risk of the sentiment of showing other systems when Pyro is not in the game yet, does that cause issues? Does it cause people to have a bad taste in their mouths? I don't know. I would just like to see as much stuff as possible, to be honest.
I think people that are going to have bad taste in their mouths from that are going to have it anyway, and it won't really make a difference. Like there's obviously the people that follow the project that can't help but be upset about literally everything. And the one thing that, I mean, I'll just say, I guess I'm sort of one of those people from this perspective is I don't get. You could show any new systems you want, but if Stanton is still as incomplete from their goals standpoint and goals that they've spoken about for many years now, it is irrelevant to me completely. I think going to the jump points was awesome once. I think going to Pyro is going to be awesome twice, 3, 4, 5 times, but then at some point, if it's still very similar in functionality to every location, who cares?
Yeah.
So I don't personally get excited about that stuff, and I think what Ollie's saying is probably pretty on there. Is like you'll probably see a concept art or a little bit of what VoiDude said, maybe a little demo of a landing location at some other planet or something. Hey, we've improved Nyx. Check out the new Nyx. Something like that,
cool.
right?
Yeah, 100%. Totally see that.
And honestly, that would excite me. Out of every prospect, would be seeing a new fleshed out landing zone, because those are places that you interact with, even though maybe not at the level of extent that they want, or we're looking forward to, in a finished product. But yeah, I mean, I'll just call out the one thing that they've said for many, many years that they haven't really achieved yet is like, let's say if I'm doing missions around Hurston, that's what I'm doing. And you are filled with things to do around Hurston to the point where, like, sometimes a 10-minute quantum jump isn't the greatest fun. Well, you don't take those as often as we're currently doing, right? As that was their intention. And that doesn't really, they haven't really hit that mark yet is where I'm at. So what's Pyro going to do is sort of where I'm at with it, other than maybe some new commodities and things that might trade between systems. But
I do like the idea of at least getting to know where they're going after Nyx, because like there's options. We got Castra, Magnus, and Terra. I think are the three main ones.
It's gotta be Terra, right?
Do you think so? It makes sense.
I think you got to go to a super lawful place.
Yeah,
ultra lawful.
That's the hub, right? It's the Stormwind, right? It's the Ogrimmar.
That's got to be the beginning system too.
Sort of, but not even from that perspective. Look at the most problematic player to player community interactions that we have. The most problematic ones are PvPers and your more casual players, right? And those, you got to give a place for players to just hang out, exactly like those places that Void is bringing up, right? Is you have to deliver that to players at some point, because they're just not safe to enjoy the game in the way they would like.
Yeah.
And I think that they deserve that.
As much as I don't like the idea of because I think their vision's been pretty clear from the start, right? It's like the universe is open and they don't want you you can't have a game when you're at the Terra primary trading commerce hub, and you can't have a guy put out a pistol and shoot somebody there. You know what I mean? That's just it's tantamount to trolling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you do? I don't know, but it's one of these things that.
I mean, it just has to be. I don't know. That's the law system. It has to be so stacked against you in places like that doing something like that in an area like that is tantamount to just giving up on the game for a few days, like, whereas doing it in Stanton might just be something
if people want to exploit and figure out ways to get around these things, they will. Alternative accounts and all kinds of stuff, man. People will find a way to ruin your experience.
So when I say
straight up, you come into Terra, power down your weapons, or you die instantly. You land on a planet, hand in your weapons, you'll get them back when you leave. It's like
that sounds like a CIG solution. That sounds like a proper CIG solution.
So when I say give up on the day for 3 days, I guess that doesn't come across clear. I mean, like, if you commit a crime in a place like Terra, you're going to either have a bounty that's going to make it impossible to go about normal gameplay, or you're going to prison, like.
I honestly think you're thinking about it in the wrong sort of way, though. So think about the GTA 5 system of, well, actually that player's protected effectively, and you have to pay for their car and ship and damages. So
explain that system. I'm not familiar.
As someone who's played GTA Online a lot, I will say that does absolutely nothing to stop trolling.
But it would if you couldn't cheat in as much money as you wanted, and if money had a value. So, for example, giving player protections, going, look, you got killed in a safe zone by someone that pulled a gun. You don't have to pay for your medical stuff. All your stuff still gets back to you, and they have to pay for medical bills and any damage they did. Yeah. So so that player is then protected, so you don't have the problem of them going, this game is evil and hellish, and the person that did it, well, they have to pay a load of money as well, and they can get to prison as well, whatever. But
honestly, I think all CIG need to do is just be like, well, there's a technology in all the weapons that there's like radio frequencies that we can disable the trigger in any zone that we want.
But you want to be
like
able
a game
to
logic reason.
Like, if you get that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I think you can bill them for the destruction, but if someone's had a bad week and it's a Thursday and it's like, you know what, I don't really care. I've got millions. I just want to ruin someone's day. They will.
Yeah.
I don't think that matters.
And you
to
gotta
Stream the game more. You'll experience it plenty.
but you gotta have the possibility of, like, even if you are in a system like Terra and there's no weapons allowed and bringing out a weapon is the worst thing you can do, you gotta be able to make that call of being like, okay, if I get this bounty, I will get 2 million credits. I do not care if I get arrested. I'm gonna walk into that bar and I'm gonna shoot the bounty in the head and I'm gonna get my pay. That should still be a choice, you know, even if it's horribly illegal and we don't want people to be able to do it.
Depends.
Should it be a choice?
I think going by how
I
they've
feel like
sold.
CIG would just say, if you don't want to die, bring people with you. I feel like that's at the moment. If you're moving whole sea cargo and you don't want to be pirated, then make
Well,
sure
yeah.
you pay people to come with you.
Yeah.
I think that's like pay a bodyguard is what CIG might say. I don't know.
Using
I just think from your example, Tomato, if somebody wants to sit at Terra with a bounty on their head for 20 days in a row and do nothing with their life, then you don't get that bounty and they don't enjoy the game. I don't think it has to be as, you know, they'll just sit there and do nothing. Like, the system should also not provide the level of great gameplay design choices that might be in other systems or whatever, right? So lawful will also have its negatives as well as its positives for the people that are there. But I've been fought against this idea very much by many people, but I look at other MMOs I played and there are safe places for people to show off their cool stuff and to just never have to look over your shoulder worrying that someone's going to die if you get up and take a piss. You know, and it's like Eve is great, but Eve's also not great.
I was a little lost there. You're just basically saying you do believe that there should be like arbitrary safe zone, kind of like nothing can hurt you sort of in this area kind of places.
But I also mean that the Terra system should be a very massive bubble of that. To some extent, like, the further you get away from the planet, you can limit it as much as you'd like.
Yeah.
But when I'm there, like the places like VoiDude is mentioning from like World of Warcraft and stuff, those are your, like, hang out at the bank and talk to your friends and show off your cool armor and did you see this cool thing I got, you know, I'm selling these things, you know, like,
so
those
like
kind of places.
Our current armistice zones, essentially.
Similar to that.
Okay.
But then you still got the question of like pad ramming.
Yeah, but I mean, there's I don't know. There's many. I don't believe there should be like, you get near a station, there should just be a shield bubble around you. Like, I am very much a PvPer at heart, but I am also, people need to enjoy the game you're playing in order for PvP to exist.
And that's the actual reality of the situation, right? Is that the PvP community is always going to make up a fraction of your primary casual / PvE driven community, and you've got to take care of those guys.
Yeah.
You need to have your people to fight against and things to fight over, because your game dies if you push everybody away from it by it just being completely open.
Yeah. I'm definitely of like using game systems to limit that kind of stuff, but I do understand that can be just impossible at a certain point.
I would be very interested to hear from Olli. What is your sort of take on this whole situation? Like, how does it actually work in GTA 6 or 5 or whatever the latest iteration is?
So in
Are there
GTA
safe
5,
zones?
In GTA 5, it is a free-for-all unless you go into the settings and you turn on passive mode, which means you can't interact with anyone and no one can interact with you. You are a ghost, essentially.
So Least Dangerous solo mode, basically, right?
This sounds like PvP sliders.
Yeah.
But
kind of is.
But yeah, my opinion is pretty in line with Mike's. I think there should be, when you get to high security areas, there should just be an armistice zone. I think it's fine. People can, I think the idea that as a bounty hunter or someone who wants to PvP, waiting at choke points is fun. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
The space
if
in
someone's-
between those planets in Terra, maybe not, right?
yeah.
But at those planets and moons or whatever's there, come on. You
I
got to
think
think
it's
this
fine.
is super high sec and it should not be possible, right?
Yeah, I think I like the idea that I mentioned about your weapons just don't work in those zones because they've
Yeah.
got a frequency that disables them, whatever, like video game logic.
Yeah.
I think it's
I mean,
cool to feel safe and be able to meet people. And
keep in mind, even the examples we've been
It's a
using, like
social
World of
game.
Warcraft, your primary city like Stormwind or whatever, the opposite factions would come and raid those places. So even they theoretically on a PvP server were never 100% safe all the time. Right?
But it does feel like that kind of eats into some of the stuff they've tried to set up. Like one of the things they've talked about is setting up customs at cities so that people can feel like they can sneak in weapons in different areas. And like if we do have armistice zones around cities, then there's no point to sneak in weapons. That does kind of kill the smuggling that they've sold that whole idea on.
but you can have that in different systems, though, right? Like,
Sure.
you could
So
have-
like a
solid is
different.
that-
Some of them have to be solid.
Okay.
Like,
I get so.
like what they say in theory, people can think of whatever they want about it, but in action, it would be a totally different scenario for the
I'm
players
really
playing.
curious. Like if we ever see the day where that's reality and you have these things in front of us, how they play out, it's going to be very different to what that current theory is now.
Yeah. So I think the thing that the direction I come from is do as much as you can that you're saying. Obviously, it's going to be difficult to make that sort of system work. But if you have talked about that sort of smuggling, that's something that I really attach to, and I think is something I'd like to see play out. I would be
there's a
willing
lot
to
of
say,
plans.
okay, a system like Terra wouldn't have cities available, but a system like maybe Stanton or Pyro might have looser.
99 to 95% of the game should be exactly the way you described it, Tomato. That nearly everywhere you should be able to experience
there
that.
should be at
Just
least somewhere.
at least
Yeah.
somewhere new players, a haven for just this is how to mine, this is how to salvage the most entry level stuff, and other players to be able to go there and be Sherpas and teach people things and just not have to deal with this stuff should exist. But the game should be played outside of that system. The social aspect of the game should take place inside this beautiful place, whether it's Terra or not, whatever. I'm assuming Terra would be a great place for it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying we play the game with these restrictions. I'm saying you've got to be able to take a break and not play the game for a few minutes if
That's
you need,
fair.
or a few hours or whatever, right? It's very simple.
I'd be curious to see what kind of boundaries they'd set to that. You know, would that be part of a landing zone, a whole landing zone, whole planet?
Yeah.
Half the
How
system.
far would those go, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
I think sorry, just
No,
to
go
finish,
ahead.
I think Star Citizen's like a really high skill. Like, it's a big game. It takes a long time to understand the entire game.
Mhm.
And I think if you're starting to PvP people as soon as they log into the game, you're going to lose players.
That's
Yep.
fair. That is fair.
Yeah.
And I will
so I
say,
think having a space to learn the game, learn how it works, speak to people, get attached to the game, and then get abused by PvPers,
yeah,
like,
and then get out.
you know.
Just think of the barriers to entry to Star Citizen now. Yeah, that is going to be magnitudes more stuff to learn once the game's
Mhm.
actually out. Like,
Yeah.
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 If they ever get past the mainstream perspective, you know, the stigmatism that Star Citizen has associated with it, once
Yeah.
those sort of boundaries start to break down, if that day is even possible, who knows? These kinds of things become crucially important, right? Your new
think-
play experience is like so S tier important.
I agree with you guys. I guess my opinion was to try and do it with gameplay systems, but at the end of the day, whatever is easiest, whatever is going to work the most consistent, I'm fine with. I have always liked the idea of how much Star Citizen has based the game itself on your own understanding and skill and experience, but completely agreed. There does need to be a place where players can feel safe to learn that stuff, and if the game systems don't allow us to make that happen, trolling, pad ramming, all that stuff is a reality. Maybe they need to put in something arbitrary for it.
We've all been on the internet, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's just-
Too much, to be honest.
yeah.
Now, the last thing I wanted to touch on before we got going was, I think, a pretty big one this year, actually. That is the Maelstrom damage system. Something a little John Crew, I think, let slip during Invictus this week, at least, or this year. The name he let slip, I think. But we all know this damage system has been coming up. That's going to affect all the things. and they've talked about it a lot. Did they hint that it was going to be at CitizenCon? Do you guys remember?
I don't recall hearing anything about it.
No.
Is this damage system as in like, oh my, you shot me and
armor.
now my power plant is like damaged. You know?
So they describe it as basically this thing can track bullet penetration. It's tracking procedural damage. It's defining how things break apart, and it's applied to ships and weapons and armor and boxes.
Breaking apart as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a big deal.
I think it's something they'll probably talk about at CitizenCon. I haven't heard much about it other than a couple of little tiny minor mentions before.
What are they going to talk about at CitizenCon? This is nuts.
I mean, this honestly sounds like a great candidate, man. It sounds like a great candidate. I get under, they demo a ship that gets under attack, and then they subdue the threat or whatever, and then they go out and they pull out their power supply, and you can see all these fucking holes in it and shit. That'd be epic demonstration.
Yeah, of course. I guess the reason I said it the way I did is I think last year we had the demo or the list of panels like weeks before CitizenCon, and we don't have anything right now. So it's like one of these, like we can speculate on this stuff for any number of things, but it's kind of crazy that we actually don't know yet. And I said to my chat today or yesterday, that's fine, but if we get into next week and we don't have anything yet, then it gets a little scary. Like, do you guys know what you're talking about? I think Jake was what you're going to talk about, I should say. Jake was in a Discord somewhere that got sent to me that said that from like a few days ago, they were still figuring out the length of the show.
Wow.
Just a few days ago. So it's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, that's always strange to me.
Yeah.
I don't remember when we got the schedule last year. I'm looking at it right now, or I'm trying to look it up right now, and it doesn't say it doesn't say when the schedule was posted, but it does feel like we are so close. We're 2 weeks away, and we're like, let's plan out how we're gonna look at this. I'm like trying to decide how I might do things when I'm on the ground in the place, and me and my wife are just like, we don't know what's happening. We don't.
Yeah, you don't know when you're available to do stuff and when you're not.
The only thing we really have is that the official Bar Citizen starts at 6:30 p.m. So we have to know that the panels are ending before that. But like, besides that, I don't really know when the schedule usually shows up, or what their panels are going to be.
Surely it will be this week. We'll get a schedule. Surely.
Yeah, we have to, right?
I'd be shocked if we didn't.
Yeah.
I had a video up on it last year at the start of October, so it was 9 days before.
Okay, so they push it pretty close.
So this week makes sense, right?
God, my chat is the worst. They make shit up, I guess. That's twice today. I trusted
Never
them.
Trust chat.
Yeah, it is chat.
Mine are usually pretty good.
So it might have been earlier than that. That's just when I have a video up on it. So.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Bored, I don't think I've known you to get anything up more than 2 days after something happens.
Yeah.
My ex-girlfriend would be happy knowing that.
God. God. Well, I look forward to getting the CitizenCon schedule because, like you said, man, there's just so much stuff that they could go over. We have no idea what it is. So
it will just come out and just be redacted.
Ship.
They won't have any information. It will just be like, there is a panel at 3:00.
Yeah.
There's no time.
Be there.
Yeah. That wouldn't be. I kind of like the fact that maybe we don't know because we get to do all this. Like, I wonder what we're going to see, and then when we get something we don't expect, it's going to be pretty exciting.
Oh, I love getting
like
things
opening
that
a loot box.
You reckon they're having to rewrite the schedule because we've already seen the jump point locations?
Perhaps.
Oh god.
Yeah, but
it's like, we had a plan, but now they've seen everything. So,
guys, have you ever been like? How many of you have gone to an actual Star Citizen event before? Right, like where you're waiting in line, and then the expected time to go in, you don't go in.
I've seen that. Yeah.
I've been a part of a few of these. It's Chris. Like that's what it is, right? He just makes a decision that I don't quite like this and I would like to change it. And he might do that an hour before. So then everybody has to scramble and make a new build and then do it again. Right? So,
I'm so like that.
Thanks,
I'm
Chris.
like, no, I'm changing it.
Yeah.
Flip.
He's an absolutely amazing man, but I would say that is one of the flaws that negatively affect the backers, I guess, in some way, right? Is like,
that'll get you.
Damn, I'm sitting outside, like I got to pee. Like that happened in Germany.
All right. I know I said that was going to be our last thing. I do want to confirm one more thing before we finish up and do the Q&A. Bounty hunting. That's a big thing. Bounty hunting V2 is supposed to be, they've been teasing it a lot and sort of talking about it here and there. They showed it in ISC. Are we about to see virtual AI applied to like the first real profession with bounty hunting V2, you guys think?
I think that's a good shout that we could probably see that. Yeah.
I would be surprised if it's not part of the keynote or like, something that
Panel.
drives some kind of narrative within the key, primary demonstration.
Yeah.
or whatever.
We've been
Would be
drip fed
cool.
a lot of bounty hunting V2.
Yes.
haven't we,
For real,
over the
yeah.
year?
Mhm. And then
Even
like
this week?
some non-lethal takedown stuff, that kind of thing going on. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
It's
stun
looking
gun.
a lot less. It's looking a lot less like take a body with you, and much more like put them in a stasis pod. Though
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
like you need the bounty hunting tools or ships to be able to do bounty hunting properly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
Which
fair.
is good,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, they showed us that with the Hawk. Good point. All right,
But
guys.
does that mean the whole like bounty hunting as we know it isn't going to exist, or is it just going to be a separate thing? Like, am I not going to be able to take a Scorpius to go bounty hunting anymore? What is the Scorpius even for?
Different types of bounty hunting where you acquire a body or not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
alive or dead, or
Yeah,
what?
okay.
Maybe who
Player
knows?
versus NPC.
Be kind of like the
But
difference.
I think your marker better change,
Oh, yeah.
right? The God
Yeah,
marker.
yeah.
And I mean, maybe that's all
bounty hunting
dependent on
as
the
you know
FPS.
it, hopefully, will change quite a bit from that perspective. But
Like the difference between like a courier mission and actual cargo hauling mission. It's kind of like you choose your flavor. I look
Sure.
forward to seeing how it goes. Guys, that's about it. Thank you so much for joining me for this show. We will be doing the Q&A after this for a few minutes. We have a couple questions lined up. But before we get going, for anybody who has come and watched, sorry, all of our live viewers. I know you're watching this after the fact. I don't know what happened with our internet there, but everything just started to go haywire about halfway through. And as you can see, chat has not
Yeah.
moved over the last half hour.
I tried.
We were
I tried
talking
to
about
help,
Chris, weren't we?
but-
I reckon Chris got us.
Yeah, I
taken
think that was
Yeah.
probably it. Probably
It was
Suspicious.
I think it was Tirada because he was worried. He was worried that Chris was going to
They're onto
respond
me.
to us.
Somebody
Yeah.
said we said Chris's name 3 times, and he'll show up, stick his hands into your
Hey.
netcode.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, one last time before we head off, if you guys could let folks know where they can find your own content, if they did like your ramblings today and want to see more of them. We'll go in reverse this time. Start with Void.
I had to go turn on a light. I missed everything you said. I'm so sorry.
No, I was just saying, just tell everybody what kind of lights you have in your room. And no. If you could introduce yourself, or I guess
Cool.
conclude yourself.
VoiDude from the YouTube channel VoiDude Vids. Thank you so much for having me tomorrow. This was amazing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Well,
I enjoyed the discussion a lot. Look
yeah.
forward to the Q&A.
Always a good time talking to you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Am I
Salty?
next?
Yeah, you
I
are
think.
next.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm SaltEMike. I'm the guy that will make you angry. But yeah, I stream on Twitch and have some YouTube content that is borderline bad. So yes.
But
Sorry.
also borderline good.
Yes, because if it's borderline bad, there might be some good.
Yeah, it's got to be in the middle of something.
Yeah, but I think I'm hopefully the guy that once you get to know me, you won't dislike as much. So there
Always
you
a
go.
good
So maybe stop
podcast,
by
man.
and hang out.
It's always
Maybe I'm not so bad.
It's always a great podcast to have you on.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I always enjoy coming on.
Olli43.
Hello. Well, goodbye, I suppose. Olli43 on YouTube, playing the game, yelling Chris when things don't work. That's it.
Yeah, I get it.
Chris.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
BoredGamer.
I'm BoredGamer on YouTube. It's BoredGamer UK, and yeah, if you want daily Star Citizen news and discussions, that's basically what I do. So hope to see you there, or on another one of Space Tomato's lovely podcasts.
Yay! Board's a busy guy. It's hard to get a hold of him, so I'm always happy to have him on the podcast as well.
Lazy as well. I'm lazy.
We all are.
You're
let's
not
be
lazy.
honest.
You upload so much content.
But do I?
From what I hear, it's content creators, it's developers, really anybody surrounding Star Citizen, at least according to YouTube comments, pretty lazy.
Everyone's lazier than the person clacking their keyboard with nothing better to do.
I mean,
right?
have you clacked a keyboard? It takes a lot of work.
True.
A lot of clacking. There it is. This is That was work. That was money. I heard it. All right, guys. Thank you so much again for joining me. Y'all are great crew, great crowd. And thank you, everybody who's listened. If you watched on YouTube, good times. If you are listening on the audio platform, congrats. That is ad-free. So much better that way. I prefer it. Make sure to check out the weekly podcast launch sequence. We just had a good conversation about what's going on with Star Citizen and kind of where things are headed in the short term with 3.21. And of course, this will be up on YouTube afterward. You're probably watching it there. Either way, thank you all again for joining us, and I'll see you all next month.